Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for a new video on my channel for the first time in quite a while. I do apologize about that. Obviously the last video was the David Luiz video, which by the way, huge thank you for the support on that and the views on that and everything. That was great. Also the subscriber gain has been incredible on that video. So we are now actually quite close to 6,000 subscribers as we are on 5,900. So if you're new here, please do subscribe to this channel. That will be massively appreciated. Of course, drop a like on this video and also leave me your thoughts on everything that I will mention down in the comment section below. And what is today's video about? Now, it is simply, as you can tell by the title, about why Frank Lampard so far has kind of been struggling at Chelsea. And I'm not going to put this video in a way of this is why he should get sacked and this is why it's such a big problem. No, I'm not saying anything like that. I know it's only been 3 games and, I'm completely fine with everything. But I just want to talk through, at least my opinions, why, we're struggling more than maybe some people expected. I mean, personally, I think we're doing around as well as I expected us to do, to be honest. Not the 4-0 at United, didn't expect a result like that. Then we did a lot better against Liverpool than I expected. And then we did again a lot worse against Leicester than I expected. But of course, the Liverpool game has to, be taken into account against Leicester because, Leicester had the week off, I guess. And we played 120 minutes in a very tough and intense game against Liverpool on Wednesday, in Turkey as well. But, I just want to talk through it and let's just get into the first one. And that first, reason why, in my opinion, Frank Lampard has been struggling at Chelsea so far is the forwards. I wanted to kind of do 2 separate points of strikers and wingers, but to be honest, it's just forward as a whole thing. Let's be honest now. The way we're playing with the high press, with the, having the ball and stuff, and not really being that good defensively, our aim would kind of be to outscore most teams. But so far, we've certainly been struggling to do that. Yes, we scored 2 against Liverpool, but one of them was a penalty. There was a soft penalty, let's say that. We didn't score against United, and we only scored 1 against Liverpool. Against Leicester, of course, sorry. And it is a problem. I mean, neither Tammy Abraham nor Olivier Giroud seem to be particularly prolific. From Olivier Giroud, we know that. He scored only 2 league goals last season. I know he did incredibly well in the Europa League, but it's a different kind of level. It's just as simple as that. And I'm not saying Tammy Abraham can never get there, but right now, he just doesn't seem to be particularly prolific. It's just as simple as that. Of course, he's only had, well, the last 2 games for him were substitution appearances, so that is a little bit difficult and a little bit different to start in a game. So when Tammy next starts a game, we'll have to wait and see how he does then because, I thought his best performance so far was against United. Hit the post and did all right generally. When against Leicester, when he came on, he really didn't do much at all, in all honesty. But it's also the wingers. I mean, of course, you have to mention in there Eden Hazard. The fact that Eden Hazard left obviously makes everything a lot more difficult for Frank Lampard, especially when you take the transfer ban into it as well. Because, I mean, losing Eden Hazard is bad enough. But then if you can't even replace him at all, then that's even more of a problem. I know, of course, Christian Pulisic came in when we just signed him in January, but loaned him back to Dortmund. But it's not the same, is it? Like, I would argue that if we didn't have a transfer ban, losing Hazard, we would have signed a big name player, like a big winger. But we couldn't do that. And then the other problem is, of course, the other players in that position, whether that's Willian, whether that's Pedro, and Pulisic being very young. So you can't put every sort of trust in him. We kind of need to, but we can't, if that makes sense. Because he's young. The guy's young. He's only 20 years of age. And then Pedro and Willian, I don't really understand why people try to put their trust in them now because we already knew that we couldn't over the last 2 seasons. Like, it's as simple as that. Whether Willian was the 10, whether Willian plays on the left, whether Willian plays on the right. Yes, he's better on the left. But he's still not, like, going to be Eden Hazard. It's as simple as that. But obviously, the big problem is we can't score with our forwards. That's why I mentioned this as the first point. When I think of goal scorers, who's going to score for us? I always think of Mason Mount, Ross Barkley, and then I start to think about the strikers and the wingers. It's maybe Pulisic, alongside with Mount and Barkley, but not really the others. And that is obviously a problem, and that's where it came from. Coming to the second point, and that for me is the defence. Obviously, the defence so far has been quite a bit of an issue. I mean, of course, we only conceded 1 against Leicester, but it was more down to Leicester than to us because the easily could have scored 3. Obviously, United scored 4 against us. Against Liverpool, we did all right. I thought against Liverpool, we really did all right, but the defence obviously is a problem. We lost David Luiz, who played a big part. It was, in my opinion, our best centre-back. Also, in the attacking phase, he played a big part in how we played, which is also a reason why I think we struggled second half against Leicester, especially second half, of course. But, the defence, there's a lot of inexperience in there. Kurt Zouma is very young, even though, yes, he has played at a high level. He has played for us when we won the league, played quite a few games that season, was at Stoke, did all right, and then stepped it up again on another loan at Everton and did well there. But still, it's not huge experience. And the same goes for Andreas Christensen. Will it be a little bit better once Antonio Rudiger is back playing? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And then the one guy that is really experienced is our biggest liability in our team, in Azpilicueta. And it is sad because I love Azpi. I think we all love Azpi, and it's really depressing. But at the moment, he just can't seem to be capable of doing anything on that right. He can't even seem to be able to defend anymore. Last season, he wasn't good enough going forward. We all knew that all season long. But defensively, he still did all right, for the most part. But now, out of position, not quick enough to get back into position, easily gets done by anyone, really. And it's just a problem, it is a huge problem, actually, not just a little bit of a problem. It is a big problem, and we need Reece James back. We need Reece James back, and that is what I'm going to come on to in the third point, because that third point is the injuries. Because the injuries obviously play a huge part into that. Whether it is Reece James, whether it is Antonio Rudiger, whether it is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi and N'Golo Kanté at the start. Of course, he ended up playing 2 of our 3 games already, but still, it is a problem with all of the injuries, because some of those injuries are to some of our very, very best players. And that's going to harm any team, especially when you couldn't replace anyone and you lost your actual best player in Eden Hazard. It's going to be a problem. Like Hudson-Odoi, literally today as I'm recording this, even though you're only going to see this tomorrow, he's back in first team training. He did train with the first team this morning. Not sure whether he's going to be in every session already now and might go back to the under-23s for a couple of sessions, which he's been doing for the last 10 or so days, or maybe even 2 weeks already. But he's back in first team training, which is obviously great news. And I would hope that maybe after the first international break, that after that we can start to see him play, because he's been out since April. So obviously his fitness isn't there yet. It can't be. So, you can't expect him to play against Norwich or anything of the sort. But it is huge to have him back soon. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, of course, will be out for a while longer. Rudiger already played for the under-23s last night when we beat Liverpool 3-0 in the Premier League 2 game, I guess. And Reece James should be back fairly soon as well, a little bit later than Callum, probably, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, but it's still big. But that is obviously a reason why Frank Lampard has struggled. If Reece James can find his feet in the Premier League as much as pretty much all of us are expecting him to, I think he will be a big step up from Azpilicueta, and that will help us significantly. And the same goes for Callum Hudson-Odoi, just giving us a different, more promising option on that wing. It's just another option that I actually think, he could score. He could score, because I don't really feel that about Pedro and Willian, in all honesty. I don't really feel that about them. And it could also help the strikers. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, it's good that N'Golo is back, but without him, we'd be in even more trouble than we already are in. The fourth point is one that I'm not 100% sure with, whether I actually think this or not, but it's kind of been stuck in my head for a couple of days now. And we don't have a hard man, as much as that sounds silly now, but we don't have that guy that's hard as nails when things aren't going well, and we just need someone to lunge into that tackle and just show who's boss, in a sense. I know you don't really want that in football because of injuries and everything, but you need it. You kind of need it. And that Leicester game, once our press stopped, they were outdoing us in everything, physically, in every position. And I know we have Kazuma, who's a huge guy, but other than that, we don't have anyone really big. Yes, we have Olivier Giroud, but yeah, he's not really that guy. Abraham is tall, but he's not like the big guy. But we just don't have that guy that would just jump in and just show the other team who's boss, and just show them there's no messing around today. Whether it used to be the likes of John Terry, of course, Didier Drogba, Michael Ballack, even, Frank Lampard at times, Michael Essien, those kind of players, Ivanovic, Gary Cahill even. Those are big kind of players that in those moments when we were kind of struggling, they were big, we needed those. And David Luiz was a little bit like that, the closest to it we had in the squad, in my opinion, and he's not here anymore. So I think that is a big problem. We lost it, and then we were like, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? Because we can't seem to keep the ball. So now we can't seem to keep the ball. So now we have to defend, but we're not very good at defending, and we don't have anyone to scare Leicester off a little bit. We just didn't have anyone to do that. And to me, I think that is a little bit of a problem, and I don't really know who could take that role. Bakayoko doesn't seem to be in Frank Lampard's plans. And if it's not Bakayoko, there's no one in there. I mean, Zuma, yes, of course he could do, but he just doesn't seem like that kind of guy to me. He just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. Reece James isn't the hugest of guys, as in height-wise, but he's a big fella, though. So he could help in that direction, but again, he's very young, so maybe not the most in that as well, and I think that is one of our problems. And then the last problem that I'm going to mention is the inexperience. The inexperience of both Frank Lampard and the team. Because it's just as simple as that. When you play players like Mason Mount, when you play players like, I mentioned it already for the centre-back, Zuma, Christensen, when you have those young players, when you're starting to struggle, they are not as used to starting to struggle in the game when they're dominating before and stuff like we did in the first 20 minutes against Leicester, to then know how to deal with the situation and still keep their foothold in the game, I guess, and turn it back around. I'm not saying they can't, but with inexperience, that is a little bit more of a problem. And obviously, the inexperience for Frank Lampard as well. He's not 100% sure what the best formation is. I know he wants to be adaptable, but I mean, it was so weird, if that English made sense, against Leicester, that people are still arguing whether we played in a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. I still stand by the fact that we played in a 4-3-3, just with an attacking left central midfielder in Mason Mount. And, that's just that, because N'Golo Kanté was way too far ahead of Jorginho to actually them have played next to each other in a 4-2-3-1. That makes no sense to me. But I know Mason Mount was very high forward, and I know he moved into the centre quite a lot. But that's just how we press. N'Golo Kanté did a lot of that pressing as well. So that's where the inexperience comes in, whether it's the substitutions, whether it's knowing how to use the press, because we looked absolutely knackered. I know we played 120 minutes on Wednesday, but I didn't expect us to look as knackered that soon. I know pre-season is just over, and that is obviously a very tiring part of the season for the players, because you build up the fitness for the rest of the season. But our press was so ridiculous in the first 15-20 minutes against Leicester that it will tire the players, and obviously it was somewhat similar against Liverpool. And then it's just the balance, it's the balance. Do we try to be more defensively solid like we were against Liverpool, but then maybe sacrifice a little bit of our attacking threat by starting, say, Kovacic in there? And what do we do with that? It is a little bit of a problem, and we'll have to see how exactly we do with that. And someone else that's inexperienced is up front. If Tammy Abraham plays, well, Olivier Giroud just isn't that good. He knows he's very good at some things, holding the ball up usually, even though not against Leicester. And his first time passing and stuff, is laying the ball off, is really good. His finishing can be great, can be poor. His heading, considering how tall he is, in my opinion, is awful. But then Tammy, sometimes trying a few more things. Sometimes it just feels like he's not used to not being stronger than everybody. Mason Mount gave a really interesting interview when he was at Derby, saying he was always the shortest kid, so he needed to find ways to get around players, to deal with opponents, even though they were much taller and stronger than him. And Tammy Abraham seems to be a little bit like the opposite. As in, he was always the tallest and always kind of the strongest during all of his youth days. And then when he came into professional, men's football, he realised he wasn't actually the strongest player anymore. And that maybe seems to be a little bit of a problem. He tries to shrug off people. He tries to, bully people and stuff. And it's just not working that well. He had one moment when he did it against Van Dijk in the Super Cup on Wednesday, when he did it really, really well. And fair enough. But it's not regularly. Sometimes he just gets shoved off, and then he just can't get back into position and can't keep the ball. And that is just problems. And, we just need to figure out, Lamps needs to figure out the formation and who to play. And especially when the injuries are done, like Mason Mount at the moment can't be dropped. But when Ruben is back, do we play a proper 4-2-3-1, but N'Golo Kanté next to Ruben as in the holding position? And then N'Golo has to sit. But where does Jorginho go, who's been incredible in my opinion so far? You also saw it when he came off against Leicester. We were even worse than we were before, even though Jorginho was a dead man walking with how much he ran against Liverpool and how much he ran against Leicester as well. And he's not N'Golo Kanté. Not everyone can run that much, and he's so ridiculous. I know Jorginho isn't the fastest at all, but he runs his socks off, and he is in the correct position a lot of times. I know sometimes you just see him running after and just being outpaced by everybody. But, that just happens, when you try to press. That's not necessarily on him at all. But he's very important, very integral to our, performances, to our positive performances. There's a lot of problems, but it's not all bad. It's definitely not all bad. There have been positives in all three games. Leicester against Leicester, because it was just 15-20 minutes of actual good things, because after that, there wasn't that many good things. But we need to move on, we need to build from here, and we need to give Lambs time. I don't like people already slating him. I don't like people already saying, he needs to be sacked, he's not good enough. I don't like people already going against people like, Jorginho, like Tammy Abraham, like Azpilicueta as well. I know I'm saying he's not that good, and I actually would have argued maybe Sapa Costa should be given a run of 1 or 2 games, even though I read today that he seems, a deal with AS Roma has been agreed to loan him to Rome, obviously, to the Serie A. So we'll have to wait and see. But don't slate them. There's no point. Just stick with them and see where we go. The season might be bad. I don't understand why people are expecting us to get top 4. I don't even understand how you can possibly expect that. Like, don't you understand how good and important Eden Hazard was to us last season? Like, think about it, guys. Think about it. We only just got top 4 last season, as in third, but only, 1 point ahead of 4th and 2 points ahead of 5th. We only just about managed to get top 4 last season. And then we had Eden Hazard and a much more experienced manager. Hazard was so important to us, and now we don't have Hazard anymore. We have a much more inexperienced manager, and other teams around us have significantly strengthened, while we really haven't, except Pulisic coming in, but Hazard left, so it's still weakened rather than strengthened, without doubt. I don't understand why people expect us to get top 4. I don't understand. You cannot expect it. I know we're Chelsea, and we want to expect it, but you have to be realistic. It just doesn't work. Like, there is a small chance of us getting top 4. Of course there is. There's always a chance. But you cannot expect it. Come on, guys. You cannot expect it. I said it ahead of the season. I expect us to finish somewhere between 5th or 6th and down to 8th, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we finished 7th or 8th at all. Wouldn't be surprised if a Leicester, an Everton, or a Wolves, or one of them or two of them finished ahead of us. And that's just what we have to deal with. We have to live with it. But that's why I don't understand why Olivier Giroud starts games. Because, I know Frank obviously tries to get top 4. I understand that. But in a sense, it is a transitional season, and it is the season to give the young players a chance to see which ones are good enough and in which positions we still need to buy huge players next season when we are allowed to buy again. So that's why, to me, Tammy Abraham has to start, even though if he's not that good, even if it's not working that well. We know what Giroud gets us. You know, we know completely what we will get from him. So we need to try Tammy, who we don't know 100% what we will get from him because he's 21. And, you know, he hasn't played that much in the Premier League. He had that season at Swansea, of course. A completely different team, completely different style of play and everything. So, yeah. But, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. That was my 5 reasons. Well, I think Frank Lampard is currently struggling at Chelsea, but I think a lot of those will, of course, sort themselves out in a sense. Some people will just improve. Some of it is, you know, players coming back from injury. And some of it is just getting used to each other, getting used to Frank Lampard's way of playing. And I think everything will sort itself out, but not in the sense of, like, some people are hoping to make a top 4. I don't believe that. There is a chance, but I just don't see it happening. But yeah, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, the Laurenz Vescoli channel. You know, like I say, we're pretty close to 6,000 subscribers. So if you could subscribe, that would be massively appreciated. Drop a like on the video. That'd be cool as well. And of course, leave me all of your thoughts on everything that I mentioned. Then in the comment section below, do you agree with my 5 points? Do you not? You know, do you have any other points? If so, leave them down in the comment section below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you when I see you.